This is Amateur Survival. I'm Darin Cardin. I'm a novice survivalist going on an overnight simulated survival trip. This time I'm on a mountain in the Mojave Desert. I'll be testing out survival techniques I've seen on TV and the internet. I'm gonna put these techniques to the test and see if a normal person with no formal training can use them successfully. The Mojave encompasses a vast area of Nevada, California, Arizona, and Utah, roughly 250 miles across. Most of the area is uninhabited, but there are several large cities within the borders, notably Las Vegas. Most of the desert is above 2,000 feet, making it a highland desert. Being higher in elevation means the temperature will be cooler. Temperatures fluctuate depending on where you are, but the summer average is around 95 and winter hovers in the 50s. Mining has been going on here for 150 years. A number of old mines and ghost towns are scattered throughout the area.
There's really no reason to be on a mountain. People are down, water is down. There's no reason to be here with the exception of a vantage point. I've seen almost on every one of those shows when the guy is first in the wilderness, what he does is he looks for a hill or a mountain or a tree, something he can get to the top of to see where he's going. And actually, if you look out over here, you'll see that there is a road in the distance. It's quite a ways out. There's no way I'm going to get there today, but at least it gives you a direction to travel in. Otherwise, you're just traveling in the dark.
After determining the direction of the road, there's no other reason to be on the mountain. I need to get off here before sunset. There's a patch of Joshua trees right off the mountain. They'll provide some shelter from the wind. This unique tree grows only in the Mojave Desert, nowhere else on Earth. In summer, they bear large fruit.
All right, we're off the mountain finally. I'm gonna see if I can find a spot for a camp. This is gonna be the camp for tonight. It's off the mountain, so it's protected from the wind. Also, there's a lot of trees here. They're not very big there. These are Joshua trees, Joshua and juniper trees, and they're gonna protect me some from the wind, and that's good. I have steel wool and a battery, and supposedly you can make a fire with this technique. I've tried this multiple times. Every time it seems to fail, but I'm going to try it once more. We'll see what happens.
I'm going to try for a fire using the steel wool trick. Any fire requires tinder. Juniper trees seem to be very common in arid locations, and the Mojave is no exception. The bark of these trees makes good tinder. The important point is to blow on the steel wool. This seems to be a requirement to cause combustion.
You see that? The key is to blow on it. That's what I figured out. If you blow on it, it really goes up pretty quick. When the sun goes down, it does tend to get quite a bit colder in the desert. A big difference between night and day. The natives had a way to actually make things warmer for them while they slept. Well, first they dig a hole in the ground right next to their fire, and then they would push some of their embers from the fire into this hole. Then they'd cover it up with dirt, and then they'd actually lay down on it. And the embers, the heat from the embers would actually come up through the ground, and it would keep them warm all night long. It's I've never tried this technique before, but I understand it's very effective. That should make things a little warmer. So then I'll put my sleeping bag on top of that, and I should be able to notice a difference. Things turned out pretty good tonight. Fire's keeping me nice and warm. Putting some of the embers in the ground under my sleeping bag, that makes a big difference. Like, you can feel it. You know, you just put your hand on the ground and it's cold, and then you put your hand where the embers are, and it's like 20 degrees warmer, significantly warmer. Should be a good night tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see if we can find some food. There's a lot of cactuses out here that I'm fairly certain are edible. We'll take a look for that tomorrow. Okay, so I found a possible meal here. This is the prickly pear. And on my part, there was some confusion because I've actually seen these before.
Prickly pear is not a specific cactus, it's a group of cacti. This particular cactus is called the Mojave prickly pear and can be identified by its red needles. Additionally, all prickly pears have a paddle-like shape.
Have you seen other kind of cactuses? They're straight or they've got different shapes, but this is the only one that I'm aware of that has this paddle-like shape. Most of them have the big spines, and all of the prickly pear cactuses have those little glaucids, and you have to really watch out for that.
Prickly pears grow in every continent except Antarctica. Though they grow in every state in the U.S., they prefer arid climates. They're so hardy and fast-growing that they're considered an invasive species in some areas. In Australia, farmers are literally being driven off their land by this plant.
Alright, so what I'm going to try to do is burn the glaucids off this thing.
The glaucids, not the spines, are the main issue. They're so tiny and break off so easily that it's easy to eat one without realizing it.
And these things, I know from experience, if you get any of these things on you, you'll feel it for days. In fact, you can make itching powder from these glaucids. That's how nasty they are. Man, those needles really went up in flames. I'm surprised how easy that was.
There's a lot of plants that are edible, but there are many that are not. Some are poisonous. Mescaline is a drug that causes hallucinations. This drug comes from a cactus, so it's important to be careful anytime you put something in your mouth.
It's not too bad. This plant right here is called the yucca plant.
Yucca grows throughout North and South America, particularly in warmer climates.
And I've seen a number of experts on TV as well as natives use this plant for many different things. And one thing I want to try today is to use this as soap. This plant has certain antibacterial properties, and the natives actually use this as soap. So what you do is you take one of these leaves here, and you're just going to cut it off. Be very careful because these spines are very sharp. It wouldn't be too hard to poke your eye out while you're trying to get this thing. Okay. Okay, so we've got the yucca leaf right here, and I'm just going to pound it with this rock until the juices start to come out.
Natives use this plant for cleaning, disinfecting wounds, and even curing headaches.
And then you can mix it with some water. And then you can actually use it to clean yourself off. In fact, you can actually buy yucca soap online, and it's actually made from this plant. I think we got a mine shaft up ahead. Now, I heard about these things, and I actually didn't think I'd find one, but this looks like this is definitely one. Now, many decades ago, there was a lot of mining that went on in the Mojave Desert.
Abandoned mines are scattered across the Mojave. Mine shafts can be very unstable, and a number of lives have been claimed over the years. In one case, a man was climbing inside a mine when an 800-pound piece of rock broke off from the wall and crushed him. Lack of oxygen can also be a threat, especially because people may not even realize the threat exists until it's too late. In 1999, a man traveled 600 feet into a mine before he realized that the air had no oxygen. He suffocated. I'm amazed how desolate it is in the Southwest. Nothing like back east. Many mining operations failed simply because of the isolation, and it's not hard to see why. Food was surprisingly available. Even in midwinter, finding a meal was not difficult. Cacti are the double-edged sword of the desert. Every step is treacherous with these things around. However, without them, I bet many people would have starved. Water was the only issue. 3 days is about all you can go without water. Thankfully, I knew where the road was, but if I hadn't, the situation would have been critical. As always, this was a good experience. It's a privilege to see all the variety this world offers.